Hello and welcome to the inaugural TLA Robotics event. My name is Thomas Andersson and I'm one of the 4 group leaders in TLA Robotics. I'll be very brief so we can get on to the exciting part, which is then to see the company presentation. Tech London Advocates, or TLA for short, is a voluntary organization. So please consider that everyone involved in today's event has spent their free time on this. So if you could mute your microphones until it's your time to speak, that'd be great as well. And I should mention that if you want to become a member of TLA, please reach out to any of us. You just take a screenshot of the screen right now and reach out to us after the event or during the event. We're lucky to have Russ Shaw, the founder of Tech London Advocates, on the call today. So he'll be introducing Tech London Advocates in a bit more detail. So I will talk a bit more about the robotics group. So TLA Robotics was set up in April 2020 with the purpose of encouraging and promoting robotics and automation in the UK and Europe. So the key reason for this is simply that the UK and Europe lags behind North America and Asia in terms of funding for robotics companies, in particular those with a hardware component. At the same time, we're also keen to see an increased adoption of robotics and automation across industries, and in particular in the UK, which lags behind many of its European peers in robot penetration. Furthermore, we also have an aim to encourage more women in robotics, and the reason I'm laughing slightly there is that today we've totally failed with that, and we're all men who are presenting here, but we promise to improve that in our next coming webinars. And I should also note that our medium to long-term aim is to organize physical networking events. However, depending on the success of these webinars, we may continue these as well. Before I hand over to Russ to introduce Tech London Advocates in more detail, I want to extend a big thank you to Robot Centre, which is a robotics and automation system integrator based in the UK. Robot Centre has kindly sponsored the Zoom hosting for this event. And without that, we wouldn't be able to showcase the many exciting companies that are coming up. So big thank you to Philip and his colleagues at Robot Centre, first of all. You will be hearing more from Robot Centre after Russ has introduced Tech London Advocates as well. So with that, I'll get off sharing, so Russ can start.
Great.
Over to you, Russ.
Thanks, Thomas. And Thomas, congratulations to you for getting this group set up and launched today. I know this has been a real passion of yours, and I know you and I have been speaking about this for the past few months. So many congratulations on taking an idea and turning it into a reality. And also let me add my thanks to Robot Centre as well. As Thomas mentioned, I am the founder of Tech London Advocates. I know many on the call today may not be familiar with Tech London Advocates and TLA Robotics. So I'm just going to take a couple of minutes to share a bit more about the group, as well as Global Tech Advocates. I launched Tech London Advocates back in 2017, so we're just over 7 years old. And I did it because I wanted to create a group of diverse leaders from all backgrounds and all walks of life to come together as volunteers, mainly from the private sector, to promote London's tech ecosystem and to deal with the issues and challenges that we face in our ecosystem. And Thomas alluded to those in relation to robotics at the start in terms of where the UK and Europe lags behind a bit on robotics. So I launched the group. I make it very easy for people to come into the group, and after this event, Thomas and I will write to all of you and all of those who registered to invite you and welcome you to the group. But basically I ask advocates to do 3 things. 1, use this as a resource whenever you're speaking or blogging or tweeting about tech. Good, bad, it doesn't matter, but we want to really encourage advocates to try and speak with a relatively consistent voice when we're speaking to media, to government, and to other key influencers. The group is open, free to join, entirely inclusive. Anybody can come into the group. I just ask every advocate, when ready to do so, to introduce at least 1 new advocate to the community. So we're built on network effects, and the London group has gone from 0 back in April 2013 to over 9,500 advocates, literally people introducing new advocates to me or people coming into the community through working groups like TLA Robotics. And then 3, I ask every advocate to adopt the ethos, which is we're here to help one another for the greater good. And if an advocate reaches out and says, do you know this person? Can you connect me? Can you make an introduction? Can you help? Either say yes or say, look, no, I'm sorry, I can't. Maybe I can find somebody who can. So that's all I ask of every advocate. It's designed for very busy people. We now have, and as of today with this group, I think this is working group number 50 or 51. I've lost count, but we do have over 50 working groups. And Thomas has been working incredibly hard to build up this community before we actually launch the TLA Robotics group. So take a look on the website. You're welcome to get involved with other working groups. If there's another group beyond this that you're interested in, do let me know, and I'll connect you to the leaders of those groups. Obviously, we're in a strange time with the pandemic. Normally, I host 1 or 2 big events in London each year, but we've had to postpone things. Our next TLA event will actually be in March of 2021. It's called Debate Tech. We have invited all of the London mayoral candidates who are running for mayor, which was supposed to happen this May. It was going to happen in May 2021, to come to an event and debate a tech manifesto that we're preparing with them, along with Centre for London, London First, and Tech UK. Thomas, I know you wanted to mention, have me mention a couple things on the horizon. One of the big things coming up is London Tech Week. Tech London Advocates has been a founding partner of London Tech Week since its inception back in 2014. Back in June of this year, and it normally takes place during June of each year, we held a small virtual London Tech Week event called London Tech Week Connects. And it was a great success. It was all done virtually, and I think we had 8,000 or 9,000 people attend London Tech Week Connects. It was so successful that the fellow founding partners, which are Informa Tech and London and Partners, along with TLA and Founders Forum, said, let's run a bigger version of that in September. So for the week of the 7th of September, London Tech Week will come back. Next week, I'm sending out a newsletter to all advocates, which is my London Tech Week preview. So Thomas, your timing is excellent in terms of launching this group now. Everybody will get a newsletter next week, which will summarize and highlight how to get involved, how to register for events. The good news is everything is free for London Tech Week in September. One other thing I just want to talk about is Tech London Advocates is now part of Global Tech Advocates, which is a network that I've set up globally since 2015. There are now approximately 20 groups in Global Tech Advocates around the world. So in the UK, we have the London group. We have 3 other groups, one in the north of England, one in Belfast, and one in Scotland. In Europe, we have a Nordics group, which covers Scandinavia and the Baltics. We have a Italy group, a Spain group, a Paris group. In the Americas, we have groups in the San Francisco Bay Area, in Canada, Mexico, and in Bogota, Colombia. In Asia, we have groups in Singapore, Japan, and 2 groups in China, one in Shanghai and one in Shenzhen. We have 5 groups in launch stage, Korea, Australia, India, Netherlands, and what's being called Emerging Europe, which will cover Central and Eastern Europe, the Balkans, going all the way out to Ukraine. So they're scheduled to launch later this year and early into 2021. Last year, I held the first ever Global Tech Advocates Summit in China. We did it in Shanghai last October, and then that formed part of a Global Tech Advocates Festival. We traveled on to Beijing. There were approximately 60 of us who participated in the event from 9 of the 16 GTA groups at the time. So obviously things are a bit different this year, but we'll take a look next year. I'm thinking of doing the GTA festival again, possibly in China. And I know that there'll be a lot of interest in this robotics group as we move forward with it. So hopefully that gives you a picture from me as to who we are, what we're all about. Again, I will follow up with you. Thomas will follow up with you, hopefully over the next day or 2, to bring you in, share more information, and get you comfortable being part of the community. So Thomas, back to you. Really looking forward to the rest of the session.
Okay, thanks for that, Ross. Let's jump straight over to the exciting part then, which is the company presentation. So first out is Philip English, who's the COO at Robot Center and tonight's event sponsor as well. So over to you, Philip.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. Thanks for the introduction. So much appreciated. And also, yeah, always keen to support like these types of events. So I'll just put my PowerPoint on 1 second. Right. Can everyone see that? Okay.
Full screen. Okay, good.
Full screen, yeah. Right, perfect. Right, yeah, so my name's Philip English and I'm Chief Operations Officer over at Robot Centre. We're a collaborative robot company. We work with companies such as Airbus, Honeywell, Asda and the NHS to automate repetitive tasks and get our customers robot optimised, as well as a return on investment. As a system integrator, we basically analyse our customers' needs, provide a plan for automation, and then put that automation into production. So what I wanted to share on this presentation is really the three key problem areas that we see customers facing in both the private and public sectors. And the reason why we find them, the reason why they find that they're looking into into these three areas. So the first one is resource, the second one is optimization, and the third one is innovation. So we'll go through each one. So starting with resource. So due to the aging workforce and the skills labour gap shortage, we see people are not interested in doing the dull, dirty and dangerous jobs anymore. This means employers are struggling to recruit the right people and staff retention is low. As a result, businesses are constantly having to retrain new staff, racking up thousands of pounds in training costs and loss of productivity. Next one we see is optimization. So with businesses pressured to produce their products and services faster and more cost effectively, we see employees doing low value tasks and every step is the same, with the physical movement of materials alone wasting a huge amount of time. The negative effects of this are twofold. First, the customer suffers from continuity issues and a reduced level of service. Secondly, the employee may suffer unnecessary stress and may even be subject to injury or illness. So that's the second one. The next one we see is to do with innovation. So because of technology advancements, there is an increasing demand for products and services to be both bespoke and delivered next day. This can cause problems with maintaining the right inventory levels and fulfilling large orders, as well as bottlenecks within the supply chain. Coupled with a lack of visibility and traceability, these issues can lead to poor fulfillment at best and product deletion at worst, because of the reduced time available for the R&D and innovation that keeps products relevant. So with the three main issues in mind, how we work at Robot Centre, so we've developed a 5-step process that we follow to really get the full value of any robotics integrations that we call our ROI methodology. And as a result, our customers enable more flexible resource, engage in more efficient systems and optimization, and explore robotic innovation across the business processes. So here's our 5 steps, just quickly. So first, we research and decide on the right robotic tools to use. We then organise, so organising the full process and the team around it. We then build the robotic system and develop the ecosystem for the customer. Then the next phase is to operate, where we always want things running and the support package. And then we move on to the transcend stage, where we really feel innovation comes when businesses leverage their existing teams and we support business with their own product creation. And each of these steps has a process around it to get the customer's automation goals. So quickly talking about goals, so Robot Centre supports the 17 global goals, which if you don't know what they are, in 2015, world leaders agreed to 17 goals, officially known as the Sustainable Development Goals or SDGs. The aim of these goals is to create a better world by 2030 with specific targets for this date. So the Robot Centre team all grew up watching sci-fi films and seeing versions of either utopian futures or dystopian futures. And we want to be the architects of a real positive future that is powered and supported by robotic technology. So we align to global goal number 9, which is to build resilient infrastructures, promote inclusive and sustainable industrialization, and foster innovation. And we support charities and robotic startups that align to this goal. So I know we have a mixture of people in this call, investors, robot users, system integrators, robot vendors, and startups, etc. So what I really wanted to do is just to reach out to see who would be open to working with us on any partnering opportunities. We're keen to extend our services to our customers, at the same time add more ideas and innovations to our research process. So I'll put my email address here, so philip.english@robotcentre.co.uk if anyone wants to reach out and speak to me. And then again, yeah, really our speciality is our 5-step ROI methodology for getting customers, industries, infrastructures and innovations robot optimized to build a better future. So I'm looking forward to hear from you. Cool. And I'll pass it back.
Excellent.
To Thomas.
Thanks for that, Philip. With that, we'll go straight to Henry Wood, who's co-founder at Inovo Robotics. You ready there, Henry?
Thank you. Yes. Let me just share my screen. So can you see that?
Yes.
Great. Thank you. Thanks, Thomas. Yes, so as Thomas said, my name is Henry Wood, and I'm one of the founders of Inovo Robotics. Inovo is a fairly early stage company. We set up in 2016 to develop robotic hardware and software for an opportunity that we saw in the manufacturing sector. So I'll start with a bit of background. So the manufacturing sector is currently worth a staggering $25 trillion globally. And around 20% of this sector is mass production. Mass production has taken a really large part of its solution from automation, and it's a heavy user of industrial robots for more than 5 decades now. But the remaining 80% of the manufacturing sector is actually batch or low volume manufacturing. And this sector is still very reliant on manual labor for most of the machine tending, assembly, packing and handling tasks. And doing these tasks manually is expensive and inefficient, and most companies would like to try and use more automation. But the problem is that today's industrial robots are a poor fit for the needs of batch environments. Today's industrial robots generally need to be in cages. They are very much configured to do one single task for their full lifespan, and they take a lot of expertise and skill to actually set up in the first place. So Inovo set out to develop robots which were going to be much more flexible, much easier to program and use, much more versatile to do a really wide range of different tasks. So we developed a modular system which allows the robot to be physically reconfigured for different tasks. So you can remove link sections from the robot, you can put longer links, shorter links, or take them out completely. And this changes the physical reach and payload of the robot. And this makes it much easier to move the robot between different applications as needs change. And needs do change a lot, particularly in batch manufacturing, where companies are making different products month by month. They're often switching between batches and reverting back to them later. But in between, they can't have one space permanently dedicated to one process when you've got customers and different batches to fulfill. So we put a lot of effort into developing our software to make it very easy to use, to have a very quick setup time, a much shorter learning curve, and to be very flexible. We've also developed an architecture which makes it much easier to expand the product in the future, so that we can add vision systems, new sensors, and even new modules as the needs arise, allowing customers to buy the features they need, but not have to buy everything they don't want. So our product is essentially 3-in-1, and this slide shows a comparison with one of the leading competitors who have a range of 3 different robots to cover 3 different payloads and reaches. And our robot basically covers all of these reaches and the majority of the payload configurations within the same system, just by changing the setup. So the typical applications that we're addressing are quite wide-ranging, actually. You see companies making consumer products, making injection molded parts for the automotive, for the domestic markets, for electronics and things like this. And it's not uncommon to see companies where you have an injection molding machine and then you have an operator standing next to it who has to physically reach inside the machine, lift out the molded part, place it on a bench, close the door and press a button to run the cycle again. This is a very repetitive, dull task which no one really wants to do, and it's a poor use of skill or labour. You often find short cycle times as well, where it might be between 20 seconds and a minute, where someone has to repeat that process. So it's very difficult for them to go and do anything else useful in between. And it's an ideal application where a robot can be programmed very quickly to reach inside, grab the part, place it out, close the door, and send a signal to the machine to operate it. Similar example with CNC, where companies are making metal parts and an operator generally has to put a blank metal part in, lift the machine part out and stack it. And again, similar cycle times of between 20 or 30 seconds up to a few minutes, but very hard for anyone to do anything else in between. Our robot's also quite well suited to packing and assembly tasks where electronics or components need to be put inside enclosures and fittings, screws, etc. need to be inserted. And there's a lot of repetition there and really quite simple motions that a robot's very well suited to. We also see spray painting, gluing and coatings where robot can be programmed to follow very precise tasks. And one of the other benefits with this is you can take a person out of a hazardous environment. You can stop them being exposed to toxic chemicals or to very dirty materials. We're also seeing a lot of interest in the logistics and fulfilment centres where people are picking parts and placing them into packaging. And they tend to have very seasonal work as well. So it's a classic example of a process that's repetitive, but it changes from month to month. And so the ability to move the robot to a different task and reprogram it quickly and easily is very valuable. And we're also starting to see some new emerging applications, things like in kitchens and in food preparation, which is partly a response to COVID-19, where there's an increased desire to take people out of the loop in terms of handling food or handling products that are potentially going to pass on virus.
Excellent. That's your time up. Do you want to wrap up, Henry, there otherwise? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just quickly conclude with this graph. Then this is showing the coverage of more than 50 different applications we looked at, and how our one system could do all these applications, whereas you needed a wide range of other robots to do a similar thing. So thanks for the opportunity to talk, and I'm looking forward to being part of Tech London Advocates.
Excellent. Thanks for that, Henry. Very interesting, especially with the food preparation now in pandemic times and so on. So quickly then over to Jakub Langr, who's the co-founder at Creation Labs. One of my, I'll say, really interesting points, which is generative adversarial networks. I can hardly pronounce it, but anyway, over to you, Jakub, to explain more.
Amazing. Thank you so much for inviting me, and happy to be part of Tech London Advocates. I'll just share my screen in a second and hopefully everyone can see. Yeah, everyone good? Cool, amazing. So thank you for the introduction. As Thomas said, we're Creation Labs and we're all about engineering the right data. And I think especially this is a good sort of lead to some of the discussion we had around vision and sort of integrating vision systems into robotics. You know, what's the problem today? And especially as we move up to robots that we can see, a lot of people quickly realize that deep learning is actually very data hungry. And I think one of my favorite slides that really demonstrates that is this sort of comparison of how long it took for some real world breakthrough to happen, you know, whether that's IBM Deep Blue beating Garry Kasparov, or, you know, sort of English to Chinese translation and vice versa, or the IBM Jeopardy or GoogleNet. All these advancements have happened very shortly after the data sets were available for them to accomplish that, but actually a really long time, on average 20 years almost, after the algorithms have been first proposed. So the fundamental algorithms of a lot of machine learning are actually quite old. the challenge really becomes around data. And I think the same thing you can hear from the sort of captains of the industry, like Andrej Karpathy, who is the chief AI officer at Tesla. You know, sort of when we had a meeting with him, he said, you know, within machine learning, everything except for data is a commodity, and we really see that happening. You know, economists commented on this. There's some industry research suggesting that even large enterprises struggle a lot with training data availability. So, you know, that's an interesting problem, and I think, you know, most of people building vision systems would really spend most of the time in the last 5, sort of, you know, model training, model tuning, algorithm development, and operationalization. But really, you know, when you look at the time, then of course there's so much more effort that comes into that cleaning, labeling, augmentation of that data. You know, I think you can kind of, I would personally have some comments to this Economist article, but I think it's a useful starting point. And, you know, I think one of the key things here is also the acquisition of the data, how you're even acquiring the raw images in the first place. And so just quickly moving on, I think fundamentally there's three big problems. There's a sourcing of the data. So in sourcing the data with the right sensors at sort of the right time, or capturing the right events that you need to, you know, and whether that's a simple RGB camera, whether you have LiDAR in your stack, whether you have some other ways of doing depth estimation, you know, all these things are quite important. Of course, then there's the step of labeling. You need to explain to the vision system what's going on. And then lastly, there's the step of curation and balance, and making sure that the data that you've captured actually aligns well with the proposed business problem, right? So one of the things that we do is basically we create these data sets, sometimes that our customers then use exclusively as a synthetic data set. Sometimes people use that in conjunction. I think that's more common, in conjunction with real data, where we basically create the perfect curated data set with all the sensors they need, and all the labels. Now, I'm sure that sounds great, but how do we do it? So one of the things that Thomas alluded to will become apparent in a second, but the basis for what we're modeling always has to start with a 3D environment. So it has to start with a 3D model of the scene. You know, here we get things like depth sensors, semantic segmentation, so what pixel is what object, 3D bounding boxes, 3D position, basically anything, synthetic LiDAR. We've done all these types of sensors, and if there's some custom sensor that someone needs, like we can integrate that, because it's a simulation and it's easy for us to sort of know, you know, pixel perfect semantic maps or pixel perfect depth values very easily. But, you know, that's sort of not good enough. I mean, people, especially these set of techniques that are sort of called sim to real, started in robotics, you know, because the need is sort of, as I'm sure a lot of you realize, is sort of the highest. But what people quickly realize is that that doesn't work particularly well, because it doesn't generalize from the synthetic world onto the real world. So what we do is we take GANs, as Thomas alluded to, so generative adversarial networks, and basically use what's called domain adaptation to learn from a sample of real data to apply it to the rendered scene to make it basically photorealistic. Yeah, so this is an example. I'll just quickly show you what we have done in autonomous vehicles. We have done some work in robotics. Happy to talk about it afterwards. But basically here we take a computer render and sort of make it photorealistic based on a German data set. So hopefully this is clearly more realistic. So yeah, I think there's some metrics. If you want, you can sort of talk to me about them afterwards. We're definitely better consistently than simulation. And I'll just close off. Yeah, if you want to find out more, happy to entertain any points and discussions. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks for that, Jakub. Very interesting, complex subject matter. With that, we jump over to Samir Puri, who's head of sales at Eiratech. Over to you, Sam.
Thanks, Tom. Glad to be a part of Tech London. Thanks to Tom again, to Russ, and to Phil. So I'm just going to share my screen there. Okay, can you guys see this? Okay, perfect. Okay, great. So my name is Sam Puri. I represent Eiratech Robotics. We provide autonomous automation solutions. In terms of what we do, well, we provide end-to-end solutions So whatever you need in terms of robotic automation, from concept design, prototyping, simulations, integration, project management, etc., we provide the full spectrum of solutions. Everything that we do is in-house, so we don't outsource any of our core services. So electrical, mechanical engineering, safety certification, software, operations, and post-sales support, everything is performed in-house. We're a growing team, so we're currently more than 45 full-time employees. We have a pan-European clientele, which is where most of our large to medium-sized clients are based. We are safety certified, we're CE compliant, and we install to rigorous EU standards. In terms of our solutions overview, let me just give you a quick overview of our portfolio of solutions. In terms of the hardware, we provide goods to person or goods to order robots. So this is essentially robots operating within an enclosure, moving at very high speeds of about 3 to 4 meters per second to ensure speed and efficiency. We also provide safety robots that can work outside of enclosures that drive safely around humans for a variety of tasks, from material transport or line feed, etc. We also provide stations, customizable racks, and chargers as part of this hardware portfolio. We also have additional peripherals for add-on operations. So whether you need a pick-to-sort wall or a put-to-light system or a light pointer, or whether you have cluster picking or batch picking, we can step in with a variety of peripherals that can complement our solutions. In terms of the software, we've got embedded software, of course, working on most basic level with regards to the hardware. Over and above that, we have our own fleet management system called RMS. We have our own in-house designed extended warehouse management system. Enveloping all of that, we have the user interface and something that we call AeroCore. This is an operational control and analysis dashboard. It provides you with a status and statistical update on the entire system, everything from tasks, picking, replenishment, picker efficiency, robot service and charge, etc. Everything is provided in this dashboard for full operational control of the system. In terms of applications, there are quite a few here. So just to talk a little bit about our kitting operations under manufacturing. So if you have inventory from which you need to pull out items to build kits, which will then be taken to line feed or assembly, this is something we can handle. When you're talking about line feed or flexible manufacturing, this is something that we can actually manage. We've been doing this for a particular automotive plant as well. Intralogistics, so if you're talking about moving, storing, sorting, and shipping of goods, this is one of our key specialties. It's something we can manage. On the retail side, if you're looking at online grocery, so if you have a dark store setup, or you're looking at backup store operations, such as marshalling, or you want to get into micro fulfillment, we're the company to talk to. This is something that we provide as one of our key specialties. And last but not least, when you're talking about e-commerce fulfillment, this is what the goods to person or goods to order system was designed for, particularly when we're talking about a competitive market. So when you're looking at fast and furious consumers that want next day delivery or fast returns, this is something we can quite easily manage, and we have a demonstrable KPIs when it comes to high pick rates and accuracy. We have a consultancy approach. We pay a lot of attention to detail, and we spend a lot of time listening to our customers to analyze their pain points. So we do data analysis, we define KPIs, we review processes, and essentially we're driven by results. So whatever your challenges are, we have a portfolio of solutions that can tackle your challenges. My details have been provided in every slide. So give me a call or drop me an email, and let's talk about how we can help you go autonomous. And that's it from my end.
Very good. Thanks, Sam, for that. Just as a quick reminder to everyone, if you look at the bottom of the screen, you should have Q&A commenting as well. If you want to put any questions directly to any of the presenters, you may do so as well. Hopefully, we'll do a Q&A session at the end as well. With that, I want to hand over to Mathieu Scampini, who is the UK sales manager for FIVES or FIVES Intralogistics. I never know how to pronounce that, so hopefully Mathieu can help us with that. Over to you, Mathieu.
Yes, hello everybody. I hope you can see my screen here. Yes, thank you. So yes, hello everybody. I'm Mathieu Scampini, Sales Manager at Thieves. Thanks first to Tech London Advocates for hosting us today and give us the opportunity to introduce our newest solutions in logistics. At Thieves, one of our focus is the parcel world. This is an exciting market, and the UK alone is at the top, being #1 in parcel volume per capita, being #2 e-commerce market only after China and North America. And also it's about 20 billion pounds turnover only for the top 25 courier companies. So yes, the UK is a huge logistic platform with massive needs for volumes, and that has to be delivered in record times. Businesses, what we see, usually focus on labor efficiency, time savings, improved accuracy, also tracking and scalability. So here is a start to understand why parcel sortation is a must. So at Thieves, we have a wide range of solutions for the logistics with all sorts of material handling solutions and softwares. So with that, we can address all challenges for our partners. And here you have an overview on this slide of the major partnership that we have in a unique way. A few years ago, surveying the market, we understood that 75% of the volume is small in that sector, and 95% is less than 25 kilo. And also that logistic players require automation that will always be in a smaller footprint, that site can be moved easily, that also are scalable in different terms, or in terms of capacity, in terms of destinations, and scale their investment according to the growth of their business, which is very important. And also to be flexible to all sorts of items, so that is for B2B or B2C. As it is very important, especially in the UK, a higher level of service and the automation that follows. So supporting business to grow, we naturally move from a scheme that is with a low level of automation for low capacity to high-speed sortation for high capacity. This tended until now to unbalanced sites, where on small sites with small volumes, you will be less efficient than when you have these mega hubs. Knowing that any logistics company or site would aim for agile and flexible organization and for high efficiency, we felt we could do more for the business and for our customers. That's why we have imagined something different that I will introduce now. So our talents at Thieves came up with the GANs solution. It's an autonomous mobile robot. It goes fast to deliver throughput and reduce distances. It's modular to adapt all sorting scenarios. It needs no physical line on the floor, so it can be installed in any warehouse on the floor or also on grid. It is intelligent to avoid traffic jam thanks to its traffic manager, and it can handle all sorts of items from very small, even non-compatible, to a length of 1.2 meters. So in this slide here, you have an example of the latest design of a sorting center based on that technology, the GANs. It sorts more than 5,000 items per hour to 100 destinations, and only about 50 robots. So you can imagine all the possibilities. So in what Samir or Philippe, you've been talking before, that application we can have. So just to conclude, this solution responds to today's need, because it sorts in a very short time, it's easy to install, and it's compact. So it provides an optimum in automation that has never been seen before, from low to higher throughput. And it's also future-proof for tomorrow's challenges, because it's scalable to expand, it's easy to reconfigure, and it allows you to invest just in what you need, so together with your business. Thanks all for your attention, and to the presenters to make this journey even more interesting. if you have any question or inquiry, I'll be more than happy to engage with you. Just let me know. You have here my contact. Thank you again.
Excellent. Thanks for that, Mathieu. With that, I think we jump over to the very exciting Bristol Robotics Lab, which is an incubator, which is part of 2 universities, if I'm not wrong, Mark. Over to you anyway to explain it in more detail.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you tonight. My name is Mark Corderoy and I'm the Incubation Manager at the Bristol Robotics Laboratory. And what I want to do over the next couple of slides is just to explain a little bit about what we do as a laboratory and how we are helping the next generation of robotics and automation startups begin their commercial lives. The robotics laboratory is actually a joint venture between 2 universities, the University of the West of England and the University of Bristol. And we have around 300 researchers and academics based in 50 that have very active master's courses. We have a centre for doctoral studies. And what we are as a laboratory is we're a very horizontal facility. We don't only specialise in very sort of narrow fields of robotics like some universities do. We have a very broad spectrum. And what that means from an enterprise and sort of a commercialization point of view is we're well placed to work with lots of different technologies to bring technologies together to create solutions. What we have done within the laboratory is to align with the university's enterprise. We actually are neighbours, we sit in the same building, and the University Enterprise Zone is a very vibrant community of about 85 startup companies, split over 3 incubators, and I'll talk about those on the next slide. But I think very importantly, backed by a number of facilities that provides startup support, which is pretty unique. So we have organisations like the Robotics Innovation Facility, which provides free consultancy, free support to startups. That could be access to a 5-axis CNC machine, it could be modelling, it could be simulation and prototyping. We have the Health Tech Hub, which is looking very much at the new generation of health sensors, and there's a big crossover in the sort of the IoT space. And then because of the nature of what we are, we attract networks. So we have we're the base of the West of England Robotics Network. Medilink Southwest is based there. And so in normal times, non-COVID times, it's a very, very vibrant place for startups to create new businesses and to interact with similarly minded entrepreneurs. And to that end, we have a range of different entrepreneurial options. We have a graduate incubator for companies who have very recently graduated from universities, and that's universities across the UK. We have the BRL Technology Hardware Incubator, and that's something that is pretty unique. Hardware is hard, as they say, and we provide a lot of support to companies in that space. And then finally, we have Future Space, which is our grow on space, which is our commercial offering. And what we do as an organisation is we don't take equity positions. We don't charge rent for the first 1 to 3 years, depending upon the pathway companies come to us, but we provide lots of support. This is a range of some of the companies we've helped recently, people who've sort of grown and flown the nest from companies you might recognise, Open Bionics, Perceptual Robotics, HomeLink, an IoT smart homes company recently just been acquired. And what we're trying to do is, we're an incubator. We want people to join us and leave us, and hopefully leave us for a successful self-funded future. Presentation seems to have ended prematurely there. I was just going to talk about the last slide I was going to talk about was an example of how we were helping the startup community. We're just involved in a new project called Umbrella, and it's one of the most complicated acronyms I can remember. So without a slide, I'm not even going to try and remember it. But this is the first IoT 5G public network that we're creating in the north of Bristol, in a 5-mile corridor between the University of the West of England and the Bristol and Bath Science Park. We're putting 200 IoT sensors, receivers, thousands of sensors, to create a public test bed for companies to come and experiment with the new 5G technology, the new industrial IoT technology. We're having a couple of 5G masts put on campus to be part of that, and that's an initiative that the universities are part of, together with the West of England Local Authority and Toshiba. So hopefully it gives you an insight to what is a very vibrant startup community, and I think you're about to hear from 2 of those startups next.
Yes, thanks a lot for that, Mark. It would be exciting to come down and have a look at some of your startups at some point. With that, I want to hand over to one of the incubator startups, which is Indus 4, and Arthur is the founder, I believe, from that. Over to you, Arthur.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for inviting us to join this London Tech Advocates and for the talk this evening. And I'd like to introduce you to Indus 4. And just before I start speaking about automation, I'd like to briefly just speak about economics very quickly. And the last 10 years have been about as bad as it gets for UK productivity. And it's had a really detrimental effect on the living standards for almost everyone within this country. And this has been true across the West. This is a chart from Deloitte showing American productivity, where generations since the war have been able to expect a higher living standard than their parents, until after the financial crash, where there has been net zero growth in productivity. And the 4th industrial revolution was promised as the solution to help uplift this with new innovations and new technologies. However, as we all know, coronavirus has made the future certainly uncertain, and we don't quite know what lays ahead of us now. And productivity looks uncertain now, that's for sure. But going on to automation, we know automation works, as we've seen from a few people earlier, but we believe it's inflexible, expensive, and complex for most companies out there. And it only really works for larger enterprises and people who've got mass production requirements. We believe to have a sort of an end-to-end supply chain that is fit for purpose, automation and robotics needs to be much more widely used, it needs to be easier to use, but also be offered with a different business model. That's why we've created System INX. This is our cyber physical operating system. It's real time, it's web native, it's edge enabled, and it's vision aware. We also have an open design so that we're able to work with third parties and other vendors, and that enables us to increase what we're able to do as a business. We also have the latest technologies in flow programming that we're using, and using the Internet of Things, not just to suck data out, but to make that data actually useful for people, but also machines to use on the shop floor. And we work really hard to ensure that we've got flexible deployment of our systems. This means working with organizations large and small, whether they're doing with discrete or batch manufacturing processes, enabling them to also use it. We're also using machine learning and AI to ensure that we're pushing our technology forward and keeping it on the absolute cutting edge whilst trying to deliver the best technology for people. And finally, I think a key part is, given the range of robotic arms out there, we're arm agnostic, so each arm is there to do different functions and some have different roles, and we want to work with lots of them so we're able to deliver a wide-reaching service. And this, we believe, is the collision of the cyber and physical worlds that we are looking forward to in the future. I'd just like to say thank you very much for inviting us to talk, and if anyone has any questions afterwards would like to speak, do please get in touch, and thank you to London Tech Advocates again.
Excellent. Thanks, Arthur. With that, up last but not the least, Snir Benedek from Benedex. Over to you, Snir.
Thank you very, very much. Right. Thanks for the opportunity. Hi, everyone. My name is Snir. I'm the founder of Benedex. We're a young, smart company in the UK developing a market-leading disruptive propulsion concept for unmanned robotics. Now, thousands of robots are being designed as we speak. The market for unmanned platforms was estimated to be about $3 billion in the beginning of 2020 and is believed to be on a sharper growth trend due to COVID-19. We seek to boost this trend. We want to make high-end robotics more accessible to everyone. Every mobile platform that is made for a function, for a certain function. Every robot developers are experts on the payload that does the function the robot is supposed to do, but they are not motion experts. Why then does the wheel get needlessly invented for every new robot that gets rolled out? This we will call the problem. Benedex introduces an industry-changing solution. Our patent-pending system is made of a varying number of motorized wheels, which is the drivetrain, with a pre-programmed central controller. It can be physically reconfigured so it connects to every platform, allowing robot creators to focus on what their machine actually does and not on engineering the motion. The Benedex system fits a huge range of applications because it is modular, it is easy to use, and it is built for endurance and performance. The wheels are just, in this case, are just 22 centimeters big. The wheels, each individual wheel weighs 4 kilos, but it supports, each one supports up to 200 kilos of load, outputting 50 kilos of thrust, which is 1500 watts, and attaining speeds up to 25 kilometers an hour. This outfit is absolutely unique in the market, and it will outperform any competing solution currently. Everything is direct drive, there are no gears, so you'll be getting the highest power efficiency and reliability. Unlike others, our solutions are made to operate anywhere and on all terrains, unlocking new possibilities for smaller developers and research facilities. In this example, our harsh environment version includes active cooling, so to sustain higher power output for longer periods of time. We have pretty much redefined flexibility to make new designs possible. Our wheels attach externally and conform to your design, your payload size, and your shape. Our system contributes to cleaner, greener, sustainable transportation. The solution levels the playing field for developers of mobile platforms, and with it, vehicle development becomes easier, cheaper, and faster. We are now rolling out the first prototypes, and we're looking for proof of concept collaboration partners. Would you like to try our project with our system with your project? Or if you're just interested to learn more, drop us an email, come say hello. We're interested to collaborate with AGV, with robot builders, and this is the best time. So contact us today. Thank you very, very much.
Excellent. Thanks for that, Snir. We now have the opportunity to do a quick Q&A. If you have some questions, I've seen a few people have posted a few questions, and perhaps if we can answer those, that'd be great. First of all, if you want to participate in any future TLA Robotics webinar, contact us on tla.robotics@gmail.com, and we'll respond to you as quick as we can. This is open to companies from all over Europe, UK as well. So do we have any specific questions? They're quite, or any generic questions, I mean. There's quite a few of the specific questions for each of the panelists, which I think each of the panelists will respond to in writing as we go along. Unless we have any specific or generic questions for us. you are more than welcome to contact any of the presenters through the email as well. That was on the front. No, there we go. We have one question there. Okay, that was a question for Benedex. I'm sure you can reach back to those guys. Well, with that, I want to just thank all the participants then for your great presentations. Yeah, let's keep in touch. You can follow us on LinkedIn if you want to. There we had a really interesting question from Mike. Perhaps that would be a question for Mark and the two startups, perhaps even Inovo something. What is the most significant barrier a robotics startup faces in the UK? Any answers, any takers for that?
I think they have all the problems of ordinary startups, software startups, but they also have that problem of hardware. And whereas the software startup, you know, they tend, as they grow, the first 4 or 5 people are almost clones of the early founders who are writing code and things like that. Quite often in a software startup, the first 5 or 6 startup people are completely different skill sets, you know, from mechatronics, electronics, embedded systems, full stack developers, and you need access to resources and money that is, as people on this call probably realise, is never easy to come by.
Okay, any of the startups perhaps? Henry, perhaps? You've...
I sort of echo what Mark says, really. I think one of the big challenges we've found is that to get to a commercial MVP that you can actually sell to a customer can be a huge amount of development work with hardware. With a software product, you know, you can often string together an MVP using existing code and a sort of very light framework, and start. I'm not saying there isn't a huge amount of work to do with the software product to get it fully featured, but you can often get an earlier MVP. I think with a hardware business, I mean, with our ARM, until you've got 4, I mean, at least 6 joints all servoing in high precision, you basically have no useful functionality to anyone. So there's I mean, we've spent several years and several £1 million just getting to a first product that's really got any value to anyone. So there's a huge funding gap that you've got to get over with a hardware business.
Okay. We also had a question about the long iterative developments. I think you kind of answered that, Henry, at some point as well. Any of the other startups from Bristol Robotics Lab want to answer a few questions there on?
Yeah, I would certainly echo Henry's points of it is exceptionally challenging when you're dealing with customers where you cannot just put an ARM or a system into play, because sadly a bug or an error there costs quite real money if you're working with a supplier and you're handling goods for them. And as when things go wrong, things going wrong in the real world seems to have a much bigger impact on the companies than a small software glitch, if it was an app or something like that, which does add to the problems. And then hiring such a diverse talent base, from vision to hardware to electronics, does also present challenges as well, which I think software companies probably don't face in the same way. And it's nice to sort of see things like TLA Robotics coming through to sort of hopefully raise awareness of that, but also, you know, hopefully break down some of those barriers that robotic startups do face.
Okay. There's also one question about how we intend to raise awareness of, what was it? But what will TLA do to influence technology adoption in industry? Technology adoption is, we're just a small part of that. We want to improve adoption of automation and robotics in particular, but then there's loads of other technology involved. The main actions we will take is to, first of all, create networking events. We will do our best to invite the best or the most interesting startups, which we see now present. But we'll also invite people from government, from academia, from from people who actually use robotics as well. So I've seen a few people who have signed on who are part of robotics users and hopefully potential robotics users as well. I hope that answers that, and we're hoping to create more interesting events in the future as we go along as well. So, any other questions? Do the panelists have any questions by any chance, or? No. So with that, I think that's it. If you have any further questions, you want to reach out to any of the panelists. I hope the email is on the screen right now. Email to us, and we will forward that to either of the panelists if you forgot their details or didn't catch any of their details, so we can connect you from that. With that, I want to say, extend a big thank you to all the presenters, all the companies that we had here, and have a really good continued warm evening in London now.
Thanks, Thomas. Well done.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Thomas.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you.